Colm Cooper, you're very welcome to studio. Gooch, the autobiography. Were you always one of those types that was going to write an autobiography, or did you need some arm twisting?
I never thought growing up that I'd be writing autobiographies around my career, but yeah, look, I suppose I had a conversation and took a few months and things to think about it, but yeah, I said, why not? I feel I have a good story to tell, so why not share it with people?
I wondered because you are a self-confessed cold fish.
Yes, I told you that the last time we spoke.
Did yeah, and it's in the book as well. You know, you're a guy who, as you say in the book, you don't necessarily ring an Aidan O'Mahony or a Mark O'Shea when they retire. You might text them a few days later. You're somebody who might need some milk, and instead of going down through Killarney and the local super value and have to bump into people and have a chat, you might go without milk. That's at the height of your career, but there's definitely a privacy there that you're very, in a weird way, open about in the book.
Yeah, well, look, I suppose I was a very guarded person when I played, Joe. My career and winning and being at the top of my standards were pretty high, so I felt I needed to be that way. The way I trained myself was performance, and everything else was kind of secondary. So that was a big thing for me. So that's why I didn't try and get too emotional about anything, because it was just always about the next day and the next performance. And like, and when you retire, you can let that down a little bit. You can let people in a little bit more. I think that's what the book does, and shows the type of person I am. I am competitive. I'm still competitive. But yeah, look, I enjoyed writing it. I think there's good bits in there. There's a bit of humour in there. There's a bit of tough times, personal stuff as well, and really enjoyed doing it with Vincent Hogan.
You're not a sentimental type either. Like, there's a great rant at one stage. Rant might be a strong word, about, you know, lads swapping training tops after matches or swapping jerseys, and you're that very old school guy. You're the grouch in the corner now, sitting there going, "What's this about?"
Yeah.
You don't have that sentimental gene. Some lads would be saying, "I'd love to get his top to remember that match in 10 years' time." You're not wired that way, it turns out.
Yeah, no, I probably did a little bit of my early part of my career where I thought it was cool, but certainly not anymore. No, I think it's just, look, for me it was always just about Kerry, winning. That's the way I was. I didn't care what Tyrone were doing. I didn't care what Dublin or Cork were doing. It was all about us winning. And look, maybe, and that could be the old kraut or cranky person in me now, where I see young fellas changing shorts and swapping shorts and training tops and things. Just take care of yourself. That's my line.
Yeah. What's really, I mean, I didn't know a lot about your own personal life, really. So the first 100 pages in particular hit me like a, kind of a sledgehammer. I was thinking, my God, the Cooper family have endured more than their fair share here. I'd known it was a very public thing when your father passed away. I hadn't realised about your mother as well. What's really striking is, we worry in life about so many things, and then it's a Monday morning in April when literally probably the last thing you're expecting is someone to run into the bank and say, "Colm, quick, come with me up the road," out of nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose we were at a match the day before. I was playing in a league match for Dr. Crokes. And my dad came home and we were just chatting about the match after, and he went away and I went away, and we both went to work that morning thinking, sure, I'll see him this evening. And I suppose he was working in construction. He was walking across the site and had a heart attack and didn't last too long, unfortunately. And it's just the last thing you think that could happen when two people set off for work in the morning. You hear these stories, but you never just, it drives it home when it happens to you. And I think the suddenness of it all, that was the big thing. Because
it goes from, it must have been a neighbour running in, and your dad's on the building site 200 metres down the road. You know, I mean, it's a bit like Killarney in a way. Everything is kind of within proximity.
It's amazing. From our house to where my dad died is about maybe 800 metres.
Right.
And about a mile from where I worked. So
the really kind of shocking aspect of it is, quick, come up the road. You know where your dad is. He's just 200 metres up the road. You get back to the house. Your mother's running out, understandably hysterical. And before you know it, and I really mean like a matter of seconds, minutes, it's medics saying, "Geez, we're very sorry." And you're into the back of an ambulance with your father, and they close the door for some privacy. And How did that happen in 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yeah. And I think we were just still in shock, Joe. It hadn't sank in at all. You know, we're just going through the euphoria of it. And for anybody who's gone through that, they'll understand that suddenness or an accident. I don't think it's very difficult to explain to people what that really feels like and how that really happens.
Like, are you so numb to it that you don't like shed tears and can't process it? Are you kind of almost standing there like?
Yeah, I couldn't. I couldn't at the time. I was saying, like, I was in haze. I just didn't know what was going on. There was people coming. There was people surrounding. Our family were ringing, coming from different places. Probably wasn't until that evening or that night that I started processing that what was after happening, because there's a shock that goes through your body when something like this happens, and you until all the family are around. I think I kind of struggled to understand what was happening.
Because you're 22 years old, which is the other thing. You talk as well, like, again, it's just small stuff. Like, you talk about the emptiness for a long time. Things as small as, there's no car in the driveway anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So
like a monument every time you go by it.
Absolutely. So when I take the corner at home, I could see if the car was outside the house or not. And usually, if he's not there, he might be gone to a match, or he might be doing something in the evening time. But processing that car is never going to be there again. The couch where he sits to watch the TV or the news was empty. That took a long time to register and really digest in all our minds. And that's a family thing that you go through when there's a bereavement, and it took a long time for that to sink in.
You say that your sisters grieved with your mother, and you said the lads in the family did what the stereotypical lads might do, which is button up, head down, I'll get on with it, don't really talk.
Yeah.
Kind of, I'll furrow my own field here. You say at one point of that period, I pretty much went into a shell. I became selfish with my sorrow. I shut people out. I moped, I sulked, I bristled, internalised everything, communicating to everyone around me an impression of preciousness that I now regret. It was as if I was taking exclusive ownership of the family's grief.
Yeah, look, I suppose I was the youngest in the family. I was hearing from people every day, I'm sorry to hear about your dad, I'm sorry about this. I'm a public figure, I'm a Kerry footballer. Everybody wants to share their sympathies with you, and eventually, without me knowing, that sank into me, and it made me soft. I forgot what life was about. Things that were central to my life, like Kerry and Dr. Crokes and training. I wasn't the same guy, like, and people could see it in me, but I couldn't see it myself. And that's just grieving, Joe, I think. And everybody deals and goes through it in a different way. And maybe because I was young, immature, maybe there was a bitterness in me as well. Why did this happen to us? Why is it happening to me?
It's always just deeply unfair, and there's no point to it.
And there's no answer to it either. So that's just something I went through. And
had you been religious at the time?
Reasonably. We went to mass, and my mother would have been very religious.
But not enough to give you answers that you.
Yeah, and you talk about a cold fish earlier on. I'm kind of I was a guarded person at the time, and if anybody made an effort maybe to get closer, to get inside me, I probably blocked out. So that was difficult, and I probably made it more difficult for myself.
I was just going to say that must make the road longer.
It does. It did. And
do you ever have? Do you across 06, 07? Do you ever have a moment where you let it all out and it's a real kind of cathartic, healing conversation with someone, or did you stick to, I'm going to deal with this internally on my own?
Yeah, that's been me always through my life, that I'm going to deal with this myself, and the way I feel is right. And like, I was never one too much for psychologists in sport and in life. I kind of figured my way through and angles around how I was going to deal with it, but it just took me longer than normal. And a good friend, actually, Dr. Colm Murphy in Cork, who I spoke with, and I mentioned Colm in the book. We had a chat one night. We were just having a couple of pints in Killarney.
And when was this?
About 2 years after. And he was just telling me it takes at least 18 months for you to understand and come around and deal with and come back to your natural person. And it was funny, we were chatting, I was, are you sure, Colm? But he was so right.
Right.
And it was maybe around that time that I said, I just look back, and how my demeanour was, how my morale was, even how my form in football was. Even though I needed football so much, I wasn't. There was just that I was 10% off, and at 10% off at inter-county level, I didn't have a great season. Funny enough, it's still finished with Kerry winning the All-Ireland and lifting the Sam Maguire with Declan O'Sullivan, which, like, for the year that I had, like, and Declan asked me to go up and lift it with him, like, going up with one of your best friends that you've played with all your life in the year that you've had. And eventually by the All-Ireland time, I probably turned the corner in terms of form. I was coming again. It finished amazingly well and very satisfying. But for a number of months, I was a different person.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about the football, clearly. I suppose that initial impact of the book, even after finishing it, is still the thing that has stayed in my head, because I just didn't. It's funny, you watch you guys play football and you don't know what's going on in your lives half the time. Is the great irony. That's why it's great to read something like this. A period that was really lovely was that your mum kind of becomes a joint father and mother of the family, and hadn't gone to matches before, but I suppose if Dad's not going to the matches now, then I've got to go. And there's this lovely period where your mother Maureen, realises, geez, I really like this. I love this. I'm meeting the neighbours, I'm getting to know the lads, I'm enjoying the football. And there's a great picture when you win a big championship match with Crokes and she runs onto the field. God, that's precious stuff, considering that she's no longer here. But
absolutely.
That period seems like a beautiful one in some ways.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it there. She became the mother and father of the family. That she was the one who was coming to the matches. And again, that's where the girls, my two sisters, Geraldine and Karen, were so influential in that. Like, Mom could have stayed at home, listened to the radio, but they were there. No, let's go. And eventually, she found that, I'm meeting other people. I'm meeting someone else's mom or dad at the match, and this is fun. And we'll go for a cup of coffee after, and we'll.
It's the GAA at its best.
Yeah,
that is.
Absolutely, and it made her. I suppose she grieved more than any of us did. So she needed something in her life. At least I had football, but she needed something else. And she got a little bit of the GA culture and life and fun. And of course, she found it tough to go to matches, Joe, because I suppose when I think back to our Dr. Crokes days, there was 5 of us playing. And she was trying to keep an eye on 5 of us. I suppose now there was only one.
The spoilt one.
The spoilt one, yeah, for sure. No question about that. And I think she just enjoyed those circles that little bit more, and meeting parents of other players, and even coming to Dublin to the Kerry matches. She was more fun and orientated. She loved it. She used to meet different people and go home and delighted telling the stories of the weekend she had in Dublin, or the weekend she had following the Crokes around the place. And
too nervous to watch in the Croke Park Hotel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's great. But in what was a very difficult time for her, I think that helped him a huge amount.
It's 2014. She passes away. It's not as sudden as your father, but man, it's quick as well. I mean, it's diagnosis, cancer, and then it's a couple of months. And did you cope with that better?
Yes and no, I suppose. I suppose if I just rewind the clock to February 14 is when I did my cruciate for Dr. Crokes in that club final. Not even a month later, Mom was diagnosed with cancer. We knew the outlook wasn't great, but never in our wildest dreams did we think that she'd be gone from us in August, the week after Kerry beat Galway in the quarter final. So it was relatively quick, and again, going through I was going through my own phase of difficult time with my knee.
You're on the couch, and you're not a crier, but you're on the couch in tears after Ray Moran's tried to patch you back together.
Yeah,
and, you're in a bad place physically and I suppose emotionally with football, let alone your mother. So it's a tough time on several fronts. For
sure. And I at that time I was living just outside Killarney in a place called Ballydowney, and I lived on my own at that point, and I was just looking at my knee one day watching television, midday television, and looking at my knee saying, where's my life going from here? And then thinking on the other side about what my mom was going through and treatment that was coming down the line for her. And again, you just go through those dark days saying, like, what's this all about, really?
Yeah.
And you begin to question things, and where's the fairness? And that was, again, a very, very difficult time. And I suppose the lucky part for us is that we're from a big family. There's 5 boys, 2 girls. And the girls in particular, I suppose, girls are good with their moms more so than boys maybe, and on some occasions they were really good to her, and we all kind of hung in there and did our best and got through it, and I think that helped enormously afterwards as well.
Did it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
unlike the suddenness of Dad disappearing, you got to kind of see out the final few months with your mother.
Absolutely. Look, and I suppose being at home in her house, but her house is what she cherished, her house and her family, and for her family to be there when she eventually passed away was probably in the way some people go, it wasn't the worst way to go, in fairness. And while it was very emotional, it everyone being there, I think, was kind of special.
Yeah. The process of revisiting all that in interviews like this with the book, has that had an effect on you?
A positive one, I think, Joe. And in
Right.
terms of, look, I can talk about it now a little bit more. It's out there more in the open.
I didn't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I set off here, and if we only talked about it for 3 minutes, that was fine. I didn't know. Would you be able to talk about it?
Yeah. And sometimes I do get emotional talking about it. And even when you say to yourself, I'm not going to get emotional, it just takes over your body a little bit. So yeah, look, I suppose, and the big thing here is that, look, I'm a GA footballer. Sometimes everybody thinks our lives are perfect. We're put up on a pedestal. We train 6 days a week. We're indestructible. We're human beings like everybody else, and I'm only one of a number of GA players who go through these tragedies, unfortunately, on a daily, monthly, yearly basis. And what's remarkable about it is that the GA community can come together and help people, and they did that in Killarney on both occasions when both my parents died. And it's human beings at their best, really.
Yeah. Well, I think anyone listening going through it will take a bit of solace in that. So, on the pitch, I mean, Donaghy always says you were a star from day one. You were always going to play for Kerry, and you're very insistent.
He always says that.
Very insistent that wasn't always going to be the case, and you weren't the minor star. You weren't the guy who was destined for superstardom, which is ironic because you burst on the scene, the senior scene, so young, and things go so well. You say at one point, so your first summer, 10 stone, you win an All-Star in 02, and almost overnight the space disappears. Like, that's the line you use in the book. The space on the pitch just disappeared. It shocked me, and on some level it fed a certain resentment and almost arrogant, this isn't fucking football kind of rage. And you had to play during that massive period of evolution where suddenly managers, players, everybody's saying, geez, Gooch has got 6 men on him. We hadn't really planned for that. I sense the rage, like, bloody hell, what, this isn't football at all.
This is what I signed up for. Yeah. But look, Gaelic football in particular will go through evolution all the time.
Yeah.
When I came into the scene, it was 6 on 6, 6 backs versus 6 forwards, and you go at it, and invariably the best will come out.
Would have been nice if you had 5 or 6 years more of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a generational thing.
Yeah.
By later that stage, the northern physicality and the strength and the power really came to the fore. So much so we in Kerry had to change our way a little bit.
Sure.
And we evolved with it, So probably us thinking that we're the most traditional county out of them all, we had to learn or be left behind.
You said a bit of humility needed
Yeah,
here. And I mean, also their attitude. I mean, so the sledging on the field, Peter Canavan dragging you down in the last minutes of an All-Ireland final. He doesn't care what they're saying in the Sunday game about him. Even on an All-Star trip with Tyrone, it was noticeable. I think it was 05, might have been. Mickey Hart was one of the managers. So you say maybe that's the reason. But in hindsight, I'm not so sure. You noticed on the All-Star trip, you boys are having a great time. It's an All-Star trip. Tyrone boys always have a bottle of water with them in the lobby, using the gym. And maybe you underestimated just how serious and hungry these boys were in some respects.
Yeah, for sure. And you probably need to see that at first hand, Joe, to understand it. And like, we were great boys, and we had as much fun as anybody on trips and tours like that, and that's what they're for. But I think what I took coming back from those things was this game has gone to a different level completely in terms of how teams are preparing and minding themselves, even in the off season. Like, we trained as hard as anybody, but we were able to have a downtime and off season and enjoy ourselves. This was extending now, and the off season was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So we had to learn that and understand it, and where the gym and things was voluntary or wasn't mandatory before, now it was mandatory.
Yeah.
You had to get the most out of your body.
You also, I mean, it's really interesting to get your take in particular, because you were, I guess, one of the principal targets of it. Your take on sledging, on pinching, on all the dark arts that are now pretty much normal, but really went up a notch in that period. Like you make the point at one stage in the book where you talk about how you might hate like a Kieran Kilkenny in a certain way because they rob you of an All Ireland, but you said it's not real hatred, of course. But the sledgers, the dark arts, you did say in the book that is something closer to more real hatred. And you said, meeting, if I was to do that to someone and then meet them at functions down the line, you say, I'd be ashamed to show my face. How could I look that fella in the eye? So you make no bones about it in the book here. To put it mildly, you've no respect for people who do that on the pitch.
No, not that. And like when you go back to, if someone beats us in football, I'll shake their hand and high five them or do whatever you want and say fair play. I just don't. I personally, Joe, couldn't go out and do that in the pitch, whether it's pinching or talking to guys or whispering certain things into their ear. I would be ashamed to meet that person 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the line on the street. People say, it's part of the game, and it's this and that. It's not. It's not to me. And when it gets personal like that, it's not part of the game. So I'm kind of a believer in karma. If you're going out doing that sort of stuff, someday it's going to turn, or something not so nice might happen to you in a match, and it's not part of the game.
I'm not going to be silly enough to ask you to name names, especially, but what crosses a line for you? Have lads mentioned your family to you?
Yes, yeah.
Surely not as far as parents.
No.
But just family.
Family, there's different things that they might talk about, something in your personal life or that they might think is in your personal life, and it's all to get a reaction and knock you out of sync. And
that for you is that's just crazy. That's too much.
Yeah.
We're sacrificing too much of, I don't know, our dignity, who we are as people to win. That's what you're saying.
Well, I think it's a kind of weakness in some ways too, that you're going out 6 days a week, 5 days training to get better. To me, if you're going out doing that sort of stuff, you're worried about yourself and things like that. Now, people say they've done it and it has worked and they got inside someone's head and they've won a match because of it.
Yeah.
Just not part of the game, in my opinion.
Did it work on you?
On occasions, I'd say. Certainly in my earlier part of the year. Career.
Is working on you result in you lashing out, or does it result in you becoming so preoccupied with them you're not thinking clearly?
It's preoccupied, talking back to them, using energy in a bad way, and losing my focus by 5 or 10%, because in big games and small margins, that's all it takes.
I am not here pointing the finger at Philly, but just it was a really interesting passage. 2015 final, that one in the rain, people remember, and you're talking about this whole area generally, not specifically, because you do say Philly's far from the worst I faced, but you say they tell you it's just business and fair enough, full time here. So I'm just standing there waiting for him to finish, thinking, what do you want? Well done, match over, go and enjoy it with your teammates. That's the fucking end of it. But he's telling me, that's just how I play, ... Back to you. And you know something? I don't give a fuck. The game was over. Dublin won. I don't need this now. I don't need an apology. I don't need you'll be back next year. Don't come over to me at the end of the game looking for a hug. Don't come to me wanting to be your friend. You're not. You're an opponent. Move on. Live in the real world. That about captures your feeling towards it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's just the way it is. And I don't have any less respect. They won. They beat us fair and square.
Yeah.
Some days opponents get on top of you and they're better than you, and that's it, and you get on with it. Move on.
Your career, the early success is so brilliant, obviously. The wins against Mayo, the wins against Cork, you've racked up 4 All-Irelands pretty quick. A good age to have 4 All-Irelands.
Yeah.
Like you're eyeing up some of the legends. 2010, down ambush. 2011, dubs. You say, I don't think I'll ever forgive myself for how we completely unravelled in those closing minutes of the final. Months of torture afterwards. 2012, Kerry not great all year, but still close enough to Donegal. You say at one point, if only we'd had our act together in 2012, would have been potentially interesting.
We were stumbling along that year, though.
2013, that amazing Dublin semi-final, you play centre forward, the first half in particular, you're brilliant. 2014, knee injury all year. Your mother, obviously, we've talked about, that's a tough year. 2015, the All-Ireland we just mentioned, Philly in the rain, spending your time running back after him for far more minutes than you'd like.
We were all running after the Dubs that day, I'm afraid.
And 2016, semi-final against Dublin, an epic. We've talked about it before in the studio. 2 chances in particular irk you. You dropped one short late on. Another point you lost your composure, which is unlike you. So 2010, 2011, 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16. Is that like massive frustration now? Like there's a lot of coulda shouldas in there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is like 20. Just going through my head here, 2010 we never performed against Down on the day. It was just
Half empty Croke Park.
yeah,
wandering,
bad Colm.
ambush.
They Down better than us. We missed goal chances. Can't have any complaints. It was probably our worst, probably one of the worst performances we ever had in Kerry and Croke Park. 2011 we handed it up as the game. The All Ireland, Stephen Cluxton coming up to kick the point.
Yeah.
We're 4 points up with 7 minutes to go, and madness. 2012 not at the races, not good enough. As bad as things were, we were still within a point or two of Donegal, who went on to win the All Ireland.
Yeah.
2013 epic with Dublin. People say one of the greatest games ever. No good to us, we lose. 2015 beaten by the better Dublin team on the day.
Yeah, they were comfortable.
3 points was flattering for us.
Yeah.
And
then 16 the semi-final.
16 was
kicks.
huge game, but just came up a little bit short again.
Yeah, so
maybe 2011 that was maybe a big moment, because that gave Dublin the belief that okay, this could be the start of something special for us, which it has turned out to be.
Yeah.
Whereas it could have been leading to more dominance for us, and it didn't turn out that way.
So like, is it a career of frustration then when you list off all those years, or how do you, when you look back or in the car when you're thinking about it?
It is like, but you have to weigh it up as well. Like, if I just look at those years over my career, it would be disappointment. But you have to measure up the 5, 6, 7 years before that as well. And like, we played in 6 Ireland finals between 2004 and 2009 every year. That's fairly consistent and phenomenal. A lot of teams couldn't even get to 2 finals in a row, never mind win some of them. So yeah, look, on the balance, was the second half a lot more difficult and challenging? No question or doubt about that. Did a brilliant Dublin team come along? And it did. Look, and sure, they're still proving themselves, and they're the peak of their powers. So the frustration thing with that is, in a lot of those Dublin games, there was only a kick of a ball in it, and we're going down a stretch in the last minute or two. The games were still in the melting pot. The frustration for us is we weren't good enough to get over the line on any of those occasions. So that's the frustration.
Yeah, I can imagine. One other thing then, 2014, your knee injury, we've talked about you on the couch and kind of tears streaming down my face, and that's not usual for you when you've got that injury. You say at that period, almost a realisation, I'd become completely defined as a person by my ability to play football, and I was swamped by self-pity. Do you still feel that way? Do you feel you're Colm Cooper footballer? And I don't mean to me and to the public, because of course that's all you are to us, because we don't know you. But in your life, like in terms of stuff you're interested in, stuff that you read, stuff that you watch on TV, the way you are as a person, do you feel a bit hemmed in as Cooper the first?
It's changing a little bit,
right,
Joe. If I'm being honest, I suppose I'm only out of the game 6, 7 months maybe. So it's beginning to change, but there's no doubt about it. I was stereotyped as Colm Cooper, the gooch, the Kerry footballer, and that was attached to me since I was 17 or 18. And that's a difficult bubble to live in. It's difficult. Basically, every time you meet someone on the street, it's football. And
do you ever think to yourself, well, this person's only talking to me because I'm a footballer? Like
100%.
There's a fakeness to it, really. I'm a commodity.
Sometimes, and like there are very genuine people then who take an interest in what you're doing or what you work at or what's going on in your life. But a lot of the time, football is front and centre, and look, that's the norm. I became to understand that. Yeah,
like it's funny reading the book. I don't know a lot of stuff about like there's a certain, you do keep certain stuff back, which is totally fair enough because you're so open about your family and so in many ways. Like I don't know. Do you love your job?
Well, like your job is your job at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I like my job, based in Kerry with the IB. I'm with them a long time.
That's what I think. And did you rush into that a bit, or like would you like to have tried other things, or do you have ambitions? Is there a fashionista in there?
Yeah, well, look, there was always, like, I love to travel, Joe.
Yeah,
and that's probably one of the things I didn't do in my life, largely because of Gaelic football and loving to play with Kerry. And did I want to give up a year or win an All Ireland? And Kerry was always, and GG was always going to win out in that one. So maybe that's something that in my life, where a lot of my friends went and spent a year in Australia or a year in the States or did different things. That if that sort of thing is something I would have loved to have done.
Yeah.
But if you were to ask me here or now, would I have changed anything? I wouldn't have. So.
No, I hear you. the managers, I mean, we don't have time to touch on them actually at this stage, as I figured we would be. Like, you sum them up, Jack O'Connor, more on the quieter side, all-seeing kind of a presence, sees everything. Jack O'Connor, you talk about Pat O'Shea, who comes across brilliantly in the book, intense, thinks more about the game than anyone in the build-up to it, has to go into the AstroTurf area in Croke Park to calm down sometimes. O'Connor comes back, Fitzmaurice, similar to Jack, kind of that quiet, all-seeing guy. Paddy O'Shea, I mean, what our conversation hasn't quite hit on is, like, Donaghy is maybe one of the funniest men alive. Darren O'Sullivan is like one of your best friends. Paddy O'Shea and the K Club in '06 is a beautiful example of how your life takes on kind of slightly bizarre element of fun, quality of fun at the time. Tell us about '06, because people are like, it's just this amazing story.
Yeah, well, I suppose thinking back to '06, it was probably, we won the All-Ireland on Tuesday. We were out in Killarney, and as you can imagine, celebrations go on for a few days after the All-Ireland. So Paddy eventually,
Tuesday being the best day.
Tuesday being the best day when the players settle down and find some nice place to relax, get some fluids into the body. Paddy tracked us down anyway on the phone and said, "Look, Colm, would you like to go to the Ryder Cup and the K Club?"
To be fair, he invited Tomas first. And
yes, he asked Tomas first.
You weren't first choice.
Yeah, I think Tomas had to go back to school teaching, so I made the cut after that. So sure, I was only delighted to be going anywhere with Paddy. So
big golf fan.
Big golf fan, yeah. And we headed off for the Ryder Cup. Paddy told me he collect me in Killarney. I thought he was coming in the car.
Yeah.
Next thing, it turns out he collects me in a helicopter. And roars, takes off the earphones and said, "Come on, we're late." So off we go to the K Club. And
that's when you know it's off to a good day, where Paddy hops out of a helicopter and says, "Come on, we're late."
We're late, exactly. Yeah. So for people at home, try imagine that, and we go off and have one of the best days you could possibly have.
Where are you just sipping champagne?
The 18 green, having a beer, looking out after winning the Sam Maguire the week before, having the crack, and Tiger Woods coming down the fairway, and you're saying, "Look, does life get any better than this?" Like, so. Coming back in a helicopter, landing, stopping a hurling match going on in Dr. Croke's, because we had to land the helicopter, and fellas looking at us saying, "What are these guys at?" So that look, I suppose I came into Kerry set up and Paddy was the manager. We'd do anything for him. The passion he had, the roguism he had.
Well, to pull all that off is just and the picture of you in the helicopter, because you dropped Paddy home first of entry.
Like, we did,
let's make no mistake about that. We'll drop me off.
Well,
first.
I didn't have an option on that. Yeah.
The image of your home club, Crokes, playing a hurling match and the helicopter hovering over them until they moved.
Yeah.
And you having to hang out and go, "Oh, sorry lads, sorry.
Yeah.
Who does this fella think he is?"
Yeah. There were a few choice words from some of the lads in the hurling team afterwards, but I
can imagine.
They're stories you can't forget. Like,
it's pretty magic stuff. There's a lot of that in there, as people can imagine. Last topic then, genuinely last topic. Guess what I said Colm Cooper's in, going to interview him. Guess what everyone said, are you going to ask him about?
The dinner.
The dinner. So
his famous dinner.
I've left it to last because I think Joe Brolly was genuine when he texted you and said, "I'm sorry for the way this has overshadowed things, because this has become too big for me. It's become too big a thing." But it's still an interesting talking point, because you're the first one to do it, and the amateur ethos in GA is kind of sacrosanct in certain ways. So I know you said in the Late Late Show idea first came 3 years ago. I'll give you my general thoughts on it, you know, and then come at me. So I think this struck a chord with people, or registered with people, because it's the first one. First guy over the wall always gets a bit bloody. That happens.
Certainly in the GA.
Yeah. And I think as well, because of the amounts of money we're talking about, like it's this weird murky world, GA, where if someone heard that Cooper's having a dance or a night down in Killarney and he's going to get 10 or 15 grand out of it, I think we'd all say, "Asher grand," you know. Right. But people see the big figure and they think, "Whoa, okay." Yeah. There's a lot of money here, and almost this is the latest step on the road to professionalism in a way. That's, I think, people think, here we are, you know. And the thing is, where it's difficult for you, this is happening on so many fronts. You've got the sponsorship money coming into the championship. You've got players getting their own sponsorship deals. You're one of them down the years. You've been lucky enough to get them. You've got TV rights. You've got the volunteers having to hand over money to Rupert Murdoch. And that, you know, that doesn't sit well with people. And already the whole thing's a mess, because you've managers getting paid. You've got players getting free cars. That's a lot of money. You've got jobs for the boys, lads being looked after, and, you know, that kind of stuff. And you've got other lads in college for a decade and being helped out as well. So it's already a murky picture. And I think people looked at your testimonial and thought, "God, that's a lot of money." And here we are creeping towards the next step towards professionalism. That is my take. I think it's very mixed. You say to anyone, "But could you begrudge him it?" And people tend to say, "Well, look, not really either,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So I think there's
What's right and wrong is
there's
what you're asking, probably.
it's grey for me. It's grey. I've
I
mixed
think,
feelings about it too,
I think it's great for the GA, being honest, Joe. Look,
because they haven't got behind it and said this is
absolutely, and they
great.
don't endorse it. And look, I suppose you've covered the piece of there are managers being paid. We all know that there are players with endorsements, advertising campaigns,
Yeah.
who are front and centre on TV ads. So
There's money swirling around.
there is, and I think this blew up because people were talking about, geez, he's going to make 200,000 and all this. I think that got lost a little bit somewhere in between charity, Dr. Crokes and Kerry here. So maybe the figures that people are throwing out on what might happen, we don't know. But
Have you decided percentages in your head?
well, I know majority will be going to the two charities and to Kerry and Dr. Crokes.
Really?
Until the night, we won't know what that's going to be,
And
because
when you say majority percentage term, give or take,
over 50%, what that's going to be, I don't know, Joe,
Okay.
because we don't, at the moment we're about 95% full, so it's looking like we will have a full house, and the response in the last week, 10 days has been really, really good. And the thing about this is, we were going into the unknown here. We didn't know if there was any appetite for this. Being a GA player, I was lucky enough to go to Brian O'Driscoll's, I was lucky enough to go to Ronan O'Gara's down in Cork. I was saying to myself, wouldn't it be brilliant if we like, people, the guys were saying, would you be interested? And when I went to these guys, I said, look, here's an opportunity that's a celebration of Irish sport, of careers. You can you can make money and give money to people along the way. I was surprised, and I didn't see the big
well, people can really
fuss afterwards,
yeah.
and maybe I underestimated that.
Maybe you did, and that's understandable in many ways. I mean, people can go, well, look, why not give it all to charity? You know, why, like, there's a money grab here, kind of a attitude.
Yeah,
and, you know,
yeah. Look, but it's a testimonial event, not a charity event. You know, so look, I wanted to give money to as many people as I could. For me, if you read the book, Dr. Crokes and Kerry were very much central in my life.
And look, you say in the book, and I believe it, you'll be that old guy with dodgy hips putting out the cones for the kids.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and it's clear from, like, there's some beautiful passages around Crokes winning, like really lovely stuff, and what the people are mean to you. So I don't. You're not the guy who's going, well, sod the club. I know you're not.
Yeah,
and that's pretty obvious to me. Like, on professionalism, you make.
Is your concern, Joe, where this could go or where it leads to?
I don't have a problem with it, really.
Right.
In truth.
I
think there's a hypocrisy going on in some respects, the way it's been talked about.
I would agree.
I think there's a lot of money. I think it's also a lot of money. Like, for instance, I just feel the biggest issue people have with it would be, that I would think is fair enough, is it's probably the latest, it's the next step towards the end of the amateur ethos.
Yeah.
Because the money is so big. You know, like, you could have a testimonial halfway through your career, potentially. I'm not talking about you.
Yeah.
But say the next player is looking at this and goes, if I have a testimonial at 26, corporate Ireland buys in, I make X amount, I could pay myself 40 grand a year. I could do half my career full time as a pro.
Yeah.
And so I just think maybe people look at it and go, God, we're heading towards professionalism. Like, that'd be my, I'm trying to figure out why people have a problem with it. I think that'd be it.
Yeah, and look, I respect people's decision here, and no one's been forced to go to this event, by the way, as well, you know, so it's a completely optional thing. I suppose, just to say as well, when we think back 20 years ago when the GPA reformed, or whenever that was, I'm not exactly sure how many years ago, people were saying, oh, this is professionalism coming into the GA. If the players have their own union, they're going to be asking for money, and they're not going to play, and there's going to be strikes and all that. It hasn't happened. So people are using the words around new phenomenon. No one might ever do this. Someone else might retire next year, and they might do it. We don't know. I've decided to do it because I think there's an opportunity for a GA player here to, I suppose, when rugby guys do it, like, the GA is so big in this country, I think we should celebrate our stars. And I've no problem in saying that. People will disagree with me, and that's where I'm coming from. And if we can raise some money for people along the way, I'm just saying, why not?
And do you regret it all? Like, given all the fuss, would you think to yourself, God, this actually hasn't been worth the hassle? No. Just look, I like I said, I was surprised, and I probably underestimated the euphoria that would surround the event. But look, I'm glad it's going ahead. I'm honoured to be the first GA player. And I know it's going to be a real success on the 27th. I got you make the point in the book on that whole topic of professionalism. You make the point that the GA has done very well to keep it at arm's length for so long. You talk about the GPA as well, and a culture of appeasement. You know, you reference a conversation with Tommy Walsh, who'd been in Australia and seen, like, a players' organisation, a union should be at loggerheads, not inside the tent. Would you like to see GA go professional? I think it would be very difficult and very dangerous to go professional, Joe, to be honest. I think
I'd put it like this: if Colm Cooper was a Kerry footballer, would Colm Cooper be playing for Dr. Crokes?
No, and there wouldn't be 32 counties either.
Absolutely. So I think there would be. I think it would be a very dangerous thing to go there. How it all would work, how sustainable would it be? I'm not quite sure. Like, would counties from different areas have the same resources as a Dublin or a Kerry or a Cork and things like that? How all that would work? I think it's a long way off yet.
Well, I'd say we could only support about 10 teams anyway.
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
I mean, you've got the four provinces, and
yeah,
you know,
and that's not what the G is built on. So I don't see it happening in the short term, certainly.